This podcast is intended for adults only. We do not condone the use of any illegal substances, and anything we consume is for educational purposes only.
Because, we should be afraid of a plant that grows from the ground. And, endocannabinoid system is, it's in your body and it produces cannabinoids. I mean, you know what? I'm going to stop because I'm going to rant. Just play the music, Mitch.
What a time is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, building enterprise, move supersize. Y'all extra like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We know how you see in the room, just look up, boys, and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too, though, they rewind us. All my talk is lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock this.
What's up, everybody? We're live and back.
You're listening to the Canna Kuya podcast, where we are cultivating conversations concerning cannabis, culture, and creativity. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Mitch Narito.
And it is I, Eric Esteban. And today we are going to talk about our favorite stoner movies.
Yeah, but before we do that, since this is the Canna Kuya Grow podcast, one thing we have been neglecting lately is just talking about our adventures in growing. And so I'm going to pass it off to Eric, and he's going to let you know how his harvest has been going this time.
Well, we did just harvest the Gelato 33, the second round of clones from the first clone that we got from Buds and Roses that I ended up cloning as a monster clone. Which is weird because a monster clone is when you take a clone after it's already started flowering. So when it takes root, it kind of funks up and it grows different kinds of leaves almost and different kinds of branches. So it's not as vibrant of a plant. You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking it away from its flower stage and you're re-vegging it. You're turning it back to the veg stage where it's just leaves, not flowers.
So does that mean, like, if you were to continue to keep doing that, would the potency just keep going down, or is it going to maintain the same potency?
It maintained the genetics are the genetics, I think, because some people say that there's a genetic degradation as you keep cloning, and then there's other people who have kept the plant around and kept the genetics around for 30 years. So, and then there's also studies that have been talking about how, you can clone a plant over and over and over and over and over again, and as long as there's no disease or any type of virus, you can keep that around for years.
Okay.
So that's what I was trying to do with the Gelato 33, was basically just keep it in my garden for as long as I possibly could.
But we smoked this batch, and you were saying that you weren't as happy with this, or it wasn't as...
Well, the quality of the smoke, in as far as when you smoke it, it's still very good. It's still a high quality. I still like I still like the high. I still like where it takes me. I still feel very active. I still feel very good. It's still a wonderful day joint weed.
It is very smooth.
That said, it wasn't. I don't think I have yet to reach the full potential of this plant.
Okay.
That's because I think I made mistakes in my first round of the clones, in the actual initial mother plant, the clone mother plant. I think I made some mistakes in the initial growing of that because it was like my second round of clones that I'd ever grown. So I'm sure I made some mistakes there. So it didn't reach its full potential. I know I harvested early.
Okay.
And then I know that I probably dried it too long. In the first round. In this round, I pulled it, I think, kind of on time, but I missed some feeding. I thought that I could get away with not doing a second top dressing during flower, and I just increased the synthetic nutrients that I was giving it. But I didn't really increase it to the point where it affected the flowers. It just maintained kind of status quo. It didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's just my kind of observations on it. I don't know. I didn't do a soil test or anything, so I'm not really 100% sure. But at the same time, I'm going to reuse that soil and I'm going to fortify it with Gaia Green and do all that, because my approach to growing is a synganic approach, because I use synthetic nutrients like Ventana Plant Science, but when I use that, I only use it every third water, and then I'll use compost teas like Recharge, and then I'll use different organic inputs, top dressing from Gaia Green and Earthshine, which is this, like, it's almost like a worm casting biochar type of thing that helps to nutrify the soil.
So if you had to say, like, okay, if you're doing synthetic versus organic, like what percentage is like your synthetic stuff versus like what you're doing naturally?
20, yeah. 70-30.
70. So
70% organic, 30% synthetic. Because I think of the synthetic nutrients in Ventana Plant Science almost like multivitamins. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't take multivitamins every day, but I do sometimes will take multivitamins, whether it's because I'm working out or if I'm, trying to push myself a little bit out. So I might take some supplements or some multivitamins, and that's what I think of as like the nutrients. They're multivitamins for the plants.
So what stage are your plants at right now?
Right now, the second round of Gelato 33 clones are in week 5 of flower. So I'm halfway through flower.
So what's next?
What do you mean?
So so they're still growing. So if they're halfway through, what's the next milestone?
So what I'm now going to do, I'm not going to make the same mistake. I'm going to top dress them not once but twice, because I increased the length of time that I was flowering them. I flowered the monster clones for 9 weeks, because I knew that I wasn't going to get anything more, because they weren't stretching, so they weren't getting bigger. So I'm like, okay, well then this is what I'm going to get. So and also to have some good fresh smoke for 420 was also another reason for the timing. So I cut those down, and I feel like I could have waited another week, and maybe they might have expanded a little bit more. But at the same time, those plants were not going to, out of 5 plants, I only got 60 grams of weed. And just in comparison, from the mother plant, the original clone, I got 78 grams from just that one plant.
From one? Oh, wow. Okay, so there's like significantly less yield this time around.
Correct. And it was all because I didn't do a second top dressing. And then I extended the flowering time, so I asked them to go longer with less food. Is basically it was my big mistake for this second, the monster clone
so you kind of starved them?
Almost, I starved them out. Yeah, and they grew as big as they were going to grow, because there wasn't enough in the soil for them to eat, basically. Okay. So this time, I'm going to make sure I'm going to give them a buffet for as long, even up until after, because I'm going to reuse that soil anyway, because I always reuse my soil. So I'm just going to, I'm going to put Gaia Green every 3 weeks.
You know who you remind me of right now?
Who?
You remind me of the Wicked Witch in Hansel and Gretel.
Why?
Because you're feeding up your kids so you can consume them.
That's correct.
You're going to make them as fat as possible.
That's what I am then. I'm the wicked weed grower of the West.
Instead of like a gingerbread house, it's just
it's a house full of cannabis.
Yes, it's made out of mota.
Yeah, it's a house made of delicious trichomed nugs.
All right, you mentioned 420. We did have that special screening of SuperPyschoCebu,
which is what inspired this episode, because we started thinking about what are our favorite stoner movies. Mm-hmm. And so, how do we want to break this down? Do we want to share our top 3?
Yeah,
right, top 3. So, do you want to share your number 3 first?
Okay. So, my number 3 movie out of all the stoner movies, I would say would be a classic stoner movie. It would be Up in Smoke by Cheech and Chong.
Oh, that's what inspired our partnership. Is that movie and Cheech and Chong in general? We want to be the Filipino Cheech and Chong. Really.
But didn't you say you haven't seen it?
No, I haven't. It's on my watch list, but I haven't seen. I watch stoner movies, but I'm when I watch stuff, And you guys can get at me in the comments that I haven't watched Up in Smoke, and I have. There'll be another one that you'll be very surprised. And Mitch shamed me when he found out that I haven't seen it. But part of it is like stuff that's on your watch list. But I like to watch stuff again and again and again.
Yeah, you like that familiarity.
And also I like knowing that I'm going to not waste 2 hours of my life watching something that I'm not going to like. So I like to rewatch shit a lot. I like to relive shit a lot. In a lot of ways, sometimes I like to memorize shit. To be honest,
I feel you. Like I like Up in Smoke because a lot of it is shot in East Los Angeles. A lot of it is shot in areas like I used to hang out in or I worked in at some point.
When was the first time you saw it?
First time I saw it was in college.
Okay.
That's when
with your pot smoking buddies.
It was like one of those things where so if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't heard this story,
you should listen to episode 2 if you don't know. We shouldn't go into that story. You should tell me when you first saw Up in Smoke, because they should listen to episode 2 if you want to hear the backstory of Mitch and his first time smoking weed and who he smoked weed with and the massive drug ring that was created by the Filipinos.
A massive drug ring. You make it sound like my friends were like freaking Escobar.
They were drug kingpins, guys. I think they might have killed multiple people. It's crazy. Now it's the statute of limitations. They're fine.
Yeah. You know that movie Better Luck Tomorrow? That's about us.
But you should listen to our older episodes. If you're listening to this episode now and you like what you're listening to, you should listen to past episodes if you haven't. But let's get back on track. So, when was the first time you saw Up in Smoke? And you said you saw it in college. So
I don't know specifically when. I know I was in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. Because when I started smoking weed, so I didn't start smoking weed until I was 21. But then, like, once I did, like, I was trying to catch up on as much
culture
and history as much as possible. So I and I also did like one of those things where I watched a lot of movies back in college. Like, I just went through lists of things. Like, I would find a list like AFI Top 100, and I just binge everything. Right. Mm-hmm. But I came across like Cheech and Chong because, like, it came out in 1978, and I was in college like 40 years after, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And like, there's certain things that, like you hear stuff, and like Cheech and Chong at that point, like they were staples. Like, you already knew who they were.
Yeah,
like,
they were. I mean, when you thought about when marijuana or cannabis was mentioned, you thought of Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, it'd
especially
be like
in American pop culture.
You think of who, like Snoop,
Willie
Bob
Nelson,
Marley,
Willie Nelson, and then Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. And so, like, I just wanted to see what, like, what's about. And I fell in love with it because, like, a lot of it is shot in Los Angeles, like a lot of East LA. And it just painted like a very, I feel, accurate picture for Los Angeles at the time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And also, it's a stoner movie, and it had ethnic people in it. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like it's a different story. So,
yes, it was brown folks. It was nice.
Yeah, it may not have been necessarily Asian, but there was like commonalities there.
Yes, definitely, and there's commonality all throughout our history anyway with Filipinos and Mexicans here in California. So it's always. I mean, even in just your own history, you have a lot of Mexican friends. My number 3 movie is kind of similar in the same reasoning, because Breakfast Club was shot in Illinois, and it was like a Chicago comedy movie in the 80s, and it's not necessarily a stoner movie.
Yeah, that's why, like, when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that at first, but I could see why.
But that scene where they go to get weed from Bender's locker, and then they run away from Sherman, and then they finally get to the library, back to the library, and they smoke weed. And then they all have the different reactions to it. But then Anthony Michael Hall says the famous line, "The cheeks cannot hold a smoke." And that's what it is. And I swear to God, that line I repeated that line over and over again after I saw the movie, over and over again. And I had never thought about smoking weed until that moment. I'm like, I want to feel that same fucking way. I want to feel that way. I want to have sunglasses. I want to turn into a black soul man.
So you were at Anthony Michael Hall?
Yeah, I was. I was a nerd. I was so a nerd. I was. My mom made my lunch and the whole thing, and like all of that. I was good in school. I got good grades. The whole what was Bender's did mommy cut the PB&J crust and all that shit? Yeah, my mom did that shit. So like, I felt very much in association with the nerd. So Brian. So yeah.
All right.
And I wanted to smoke like Brian.
All right.
Turn into a black soul man.
You can still turn into one.
I try every day. So what's your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2, also a college movie. It came out when I was in college, and it was Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
Oh man, I love that movie, and a great representation for us Asian American potheads.
Yeah, shout out to John Cho. You made it possible for me to see myself smoking.
And what's the Indian guy's name? His real
Kal
name?
Penn.
Kal Penn. There you go. And Kal Penn, man, homie worked for Barack Obama, and
he was
doing cool shit.
He was the what was he? He was the Asian ambassador.
Proving the stereotype of potheads wrong when he ended up going to work for Obama after being Harold. I wonder if he still smokes pot.
I'm pretty sure those guys do. They just.
I mean, one of my favorite pothead quotes. We could share that too, but like, was Obama's. Of course I inhaled. That was the point.
Oh.
When they asked him, because how Bill Clinton famously said, I tried it, but I didn't inhale. And I was like, oh my God, that was the weakest.
I did not inhale.
I'm sure he inhaled a few times. And he just didn't want to mention it. But anyway.
No, but yeah, Harold and Kumar. So 2 Asian dudes, right?
That was the best.
Getting high in college. And I was in college. I was like, these guys are me. Like.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And just the randomness and the
wackiness of that comedy, and then just the fact that we could be in one of those wacky comedies was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I thought that,
and then it happened to be centered around weed too, and you're like, oh yeah,
but it's a really good movie.
It's a great movie. I love that movie, and we should actually do a backyard screening of that movie.
Harold Kumar, I'm down.
And we should, and then we can invite Kal Penn and John Cho, and maybe they'll show up.
Maybe they'll be like, that shit's behind me. What the hell, guys?
I don't know.
What's your number 2?
My number 2, I'm debating, and part of it, because of the way that we've transitioned and mapped out the way that we want to talk about this podcast, I'm gonna have to go with number 2 being actually my switch. It switches every time I watch the two movies, because the one that's fresher in the mind is going to be number 1, and the one that's not as fresh in the mind is going to be number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Friday is my number 2.
Okay, that's a good one.
And Friday is, because I was in college when Friday came out, and I think I might have saw that movie 5 times
in theaters.
In the theater, like I was in love with not even just the comedy of Friday, the characters of Friday. Almost every one of those comedians who was in that movie became a bigger comedian because of that movie. Like every single one. And Ice Cube, we don't even talk about how many more Fridays and other movies that he's produced. Jesus, even his son is now a big movie star. Ice Cube is awesome.
No, he started a lot of careers.
And he started a different kind of Hollywood and a different kind of black comedy Hollywood with that movie, with Friday. It was brilliant.
I remember I watched an interview with him, and they asked him, like, why do you make these kinds of movies? How come, you're not, people were like, you're never going to win any awards or whatnot. You're never going to get anything. Like, this is just pretty much base, right? And Ice Cube was just like, yeah, I know, because I was never welcome in those circles in the first place. I was never planning to, ever be a part of that. I just wanted to make movies that, people like myself and people around me would want,
and the people that are around me, I wanted to make movies about the people that were around me and the characters that I saw around me growing up. So that's the people that are in these movies, and that's so much of what I associated with Friday. Like, I felt like I was just hanging on the stoop with Smokey and Craig.
Do you have a favorite character in the movie?
Man, there's so many. Between Reverend Bernie Mac and with the sin of sin. Bernie Mac, just Bernie Mac in general. Yeah. But I don't know, Smokey. It got to be Smokey, because I played this game when we finally got Friday on DVD at the house. We'd watch it, and every time Smokey would smoke, we would have to smoke. And it was hard because he smokes a lot in that movie, and we didn't have a lot of weed in Chicago, so we'd have to have a lot of weed to do that game. So it was every time I got a lot of weed, I'd be like, "Hey y'all, let's watch Friday. Are we going to do the Smokey game?" And I'm like, "Yep, we are." And I'm like,
I feel like a lot of people did that.
It's
With that
awesome.
movie. Like everybody had
that's a Smokey game.
some version of that.
That's some version of whenever Smokey smoked, you got to smoke. Yeah, that was the best. Oh, I love Friday. That. I mean, that's why it's like if I rewatched it now, it'd probably be number one.
Okay. And in terms of number one, I will have to say my favorite stoner movie of all time is Half Baked.
And I'm gonna have to admit to you that that's still on my watch list, and we have it. But that's another one we should do a backyard screening of.
Guys, we have a semi-fake.
It's a travesty.
Oh,
I know it's a travesty that I haven't seen Half Baked, but I've never seen it.
But then people are making references to it around you all the time. So do you just not get the references, or like have you heard them enough that you're like, okay, I know that's from Half Baked?
No, probably not. I probably just don't get the references.
Oh my god, there's so much. Like that's one of the reasons why that movie is my favorite, is because there's so many good lines in it.
So it's like Friday.
Yeah,
because Friday, I mean, there's you know. You got a VCR I could have. I mean, all the different. I mean, why'd you stealing boxes for? I mean, all the different lines. You know.
I think I respect Friday. I like Friday.
Friday is for me, the one-liners in Friday are. But I understand why I have to see Half Baked. I'm not saying that I don't, but you just, there's always something else that I want to watch. These streaming services have made it so hard to watch things that I want to watch.
No, but then there's so many good lines, like freaking.
Okay, so we're gonna make it a point.
Oh
we're
my
gonna make it a point. We're gonna watch your number one movie together, because. So tell me why it's your number one besides the one-liners.
No, it's just really that's like Dave Chappelle at his it's like golden era. I don't know.
I don't know. Is that his golden era, or that was the start of Dave Chappelle? Because I really feel like that was before Chappelle's show, which I feel like was his golden era.
Okay. But it's just.
But even I would even try to say, because the homie has had so many golden eras, really, because even the stuff when he came back was pretty fucking golden too. So, I mean, even the stuff that he's doing now is pretty golden. So I can't really. He's one of the goats.
Yeah, he's been killing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But for me, Half Baked was what really solidified. He's one of my favorites.
Right, I feel you. Okay.
I was just like, this guy can do no wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's one scene where he goes to a Narcotics Anonymous, or a drug a AA, but for people that do drugs, right?
You guys, this is just for me because I haven't seen it. 'Cause I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast has probably seen Half Baked.
And then so Dave Chappelle, he goes up, right? And he's like, guys, I'm addicted to weed. Right, and then everybody in the crowd or at the meeting turns on him. They're like, "Boo this man!" And Bob Saget stands up. He's like, "I suck dick for crack." He's like that, right?
Yes.
You ever suck
Rest
dick for
in
marijuana?
Peace, Bob Saget. Rest in peace. Oh, we lost him so too early. Yeah. Oh, that raunchy ass white man. Oh,
and then there's
so
just,
good.
I mean, I don't want to, it sucks because it's my number one and I can't talk more about it.
Because you're going to spoil it.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil it, but it's so good. That is one of the movies that literally has me cracking up from beginning to end.
And it laugh out loud funny all the time.
Yeah, beginning to end.
Because I will rewatch Anchorman like that.
That's a good one.
And I'll rewatch, and obviously I'll also rewatch Friday like that. But then I tend to just watch old Eddie Murphy movies, because I'm old. But no, I promise you, we are going to watch Half Baked.
Okay.
If I have, we are going to watch it. What streaming service is it on?
I don't know. If we can't.
If not, I'll just fucking buy it.
I have the DVD.
Okay, well then we can just put it on the Xbox.
We good.
Oh, we good. So I'm going to watch it. We are going to watch. Maybe we could watch it next week.
Maybe.
We would go live on Instagram and watch the first 10 minutes of Half Baked with us.
Man, no, if you watch the first 10 minutes, though, you got to finish it. Like,
No, well, we will finish it, but they'll watch the first 10 minutes of it because I'm not going to be on the whole time live.
okay.
Maybe we could do that on TikTok. No, TikTok will copyright us.
No, we should have a backyard boogie. Like, we'll
do another one. We'll set up another one because that leads us into my number one. And it's only because it's the first Filipino stoner movie, SuperPyschoCebu. I mean, we just watched it, and it was so trippy and weird, and I've seen it now like 5 or 6 times, and it just is trippy and weird every time you watch it, and the laugh out loud moments are still the laugh out loud moments. And it's just a fun movie to watch, especially when you're super, super baked. And the fact that I know the filmmakers and know the story behind it, and yeah. So SuperPyschoCebu for me. So what now? You can give your review. What did you think of SuperPyschoCebu?
So okay, I'm gonna give my unfiltered, honest opinion.
I
like the movie.
Yeah,
it was good, and the fact that it was made by Filipinos, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I thought that I loved the first 30 to 45 minutes like a lot because it was nuts. It was like, okay, this is a stoner movie. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I was not prepared for the last half of the movie. It's either like the last half or like the last act of the movie.
The last act of the movie is like, for me, because I'd seen it already and I knew it was coming, I was like, wow, this tends to be a little bit long, like a little bit longer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the high was really long.
It got dark. It got like, because it started going into questioning like religion, questioning like politics and stuff like that, and
it was almost like a stoner conversation of a movie.
Yes, and it is very like, I could understand, like, like when you get high you think about different things. It's not always like ha 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 stuff,
Right, for sure.
So like this is some of the other stuff you would think about when you're high, but it was just like, oh, this is some of the stuff that you think if you're having a bad trip on weed sometimes, like.
I feel you. Okay, yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, because for me, the part of what I really love about it is exactly what you talk about, because there is that whole weird, almost trip that you have when you're on. I've never really hallucinated or gotten to a point where I'm like trippy on weed, because like I said, weed is almost like it doesn't affect me the same way that I feel like it affects others. It affects me very differently than I think. So I don't necessarily empathize with the character's experience.
Yeah, like me too, because it just shows how spoiled we are.
Yeah,
because so this whole movie, like, there's a guy, he finds some weed and he finds
a little roach on the floor and smokes the little rest of the roach, and he's so high from this little roach that he wants this weed that he smoked.
Yeah, so he goes on an adventure of him like trying to look for weed, and it just reminded me of like how you used to get weed back in the day. You would have to go to one dude, they would refer you to another, or they, it would be like a line of just meeting random people or like random like folks that'd be like, oh, I know this guy, hit him up, So I thought that was accurate, but then me being from Los Angeles, I was like, yeah, after the first guy didn't have weed, I would just go to the dispensary, or I would hit up any of my other friends that smoke weed.
Well, that was like made us so. We realize how spoiled we are.
Yeah.
You think about how spoiled we are even here in just California, because like when I went to Chicago for the first time when it went recreational back in 2020. I remember showing my Cali ID, and then the Chicago person at the desk, they were looking at my ID and like, you're from California? You're going to be very disappointed. And I'm like, I haven't even gone into the store. Why are you setting my expectations so low? But I was disappointed.
Yeah, I remember going to New York before it was legal, right? And we were in Manhattan and Queens, and we were going into all these bars, just like because we didn't want to ask random people on the street because
you didn't want to do what I did. I ended up getting lead from Washington State Park, and then this.
What?
Yeah, well, I was in Washington Square Park. Like that's where everybody goes to smoke weed, and and I was literally there staying in my sister's NYU apartment, and then this guy was like, "You need some weed," and I'm like, and he made me walk and follow him. I'm like, "No, this motherfucker's a cop," and then I just bolted the other way.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because if it wasn't a cop, you would probably got him ripped in the bushes.
Back to your New York story.
No, okay, so we were like we were going around spots, and my buddy that had moved out there, he had a hook, but he wasn't available like that weekend.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, we're on our own. Like usually he'd be able to like just make a call to his buddy, and then his buddy would come down and then just hook him up.
Right.
But we couldn't find any. And so we were literally like, we were just bar hopping, and we kept asking all the bartenders like,
and we got weed.
Yeah, hey, where do you buy weed around here? And then like finally after like the fourth or fifth bar, one of the bartenders was just like, how much you looking for, right? And we're like, hey, we got like $40-$50. He's like, here, put it in the ticket thing, like, or for your receipt, right? Just put it in that, slide that over, and then I'll be right back. So like we gave that to him. He brought the bill back, right? And then inside was just all these loose nugs of weed, right? Like it was a good amount, but
he probably just had some weed on himself, and he's like, let me make some money off these fools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but like he was fair about it, but like he literally handed us like a bunch of loose nugs in like a receipt holder. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, where the hell do we put this? So like, so then like my buddy was just like, hey man, can we get some foil? So we made like a little doggy bag of weed. But yeah, but that was like hours of trying to find it.
Yeah, man, that was hard. That was hard to do back in the day. If you didn't have a hook, that was hard to do. In Chicago, you guys have heard go back to episode 1. You can hear some of the stories of how we used to have to go to one door and then go to another door and then go up 2 flights of stairs and do a special knock and shit. It was fucked up. It was hard to get weed back in the day, and now it's like walking into an Apple store.
No, straight up, like I don't have to travel more than 5 minutes from my house to have access to it.
And so you can't really empathize with Idol's experience in SuperPyschoCebu.
No, I could empathize because that's what it was like back in the day. But I was like, oh, thank God, we have come a long way.
Bro, if I'd have had to go to the jungle and talk to Jesus and the devil for weed, it'd have been a trip.
No, man, no, man. Like if I had to be, so there's one point in the movie where the main character, his name's Idol. He has to get on a boat. And he's on like this little catamaran with like this one dude who is nuts. He's like
he's a little nuts, and he's the one. He's kind of the part of the movie where it twists and turns a little bit dark.
Yeah. That's where it's like, okay, now we're fucking with expectations.
But the cinematography, it almost hints at it because it's like almost like a bluish. There's like a bluish tint to the whole scene. So yeah, I feel you on that, and I also feel you on the idea of, because I was stoned, and I was really stoned, and because we'd been it was 420, and we were outside, and there was a plethora of Gelato 33 sugar leaf joints, right there since we just post harvest. So I was like, I was just kind of chain smoking these. So I was really stoned. By the end of it, I was probably more stoned than the main character in the movie. So I was almost like, dude, you're good. Come on, just go to sleep.
No, but there were some parts of the movie where like, okay, maybe I'm not stoned enough. And that's why I was just like, I had to get another joint. So I was like, okay, maybe if I just smoke, like...
No, but I feel you, and that's part of why SuperPyschoCebu is so fresh in my mind, and part of why it's my favorite stoner movie right now is, first, because it's all the reasons that I gave you before, but because of our event from 420. It was such a fun event to have all our friends there, Laura Lee and Franklin and Marshall, and then and Leah from Chicago. Who is from Chicago. She did our show in Chicago. She was on Phil-Am Comedy Jam in Chicago at the Comedy Plex, and now she was here in town doing some comedy, and we had a great time. It was such a fun,
it was a
fun
very
night.
chill, intimate And then we got to have House of Pie after.
Oh man,
that was delicious.
It was such a good evening. So I mean, I feel like we should do that more often. So I feel like I'm down to watch your number one stoner movie. Half Baked.
Are there any other what other movies that have most people seen that you're still?
Oh, there's so many. You could probably like list a bunch. Name one. Say let's try for the last part of this podcast. Let's see how many movies you can name that I should have seen that I probably didn't see yet.
Well, you already said you haven't seen The Godfather.
You're right. I haven't seen that.
Okay. Forrest Gump.
I've seen that. I worked at Bubblegum Shrimp, so yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I love that movie.
Okay, so I think it's
more. Okay. So it's more. I avoid comedies. I don't watch a lot of comedies.
Oh.
Because very few comedies actually make me laugh.
Okay. Mean Girls?
No, never seen it.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know why that's at the top of my list, but I think it's fun.
Mean Girls?
No, dude, Mean Girls.
Written by Tina Fey.
No,
I feel you. No, I haven't seen it.
What are?
But now that I'm thinking about it, I avoid watching comedies because most comedies don't make me laugh.
Okay, if you're listening to the podcast, leave a comment, hit us up on the DMs on Instagram or something. Just drop some movie titles, and we'll see if Eric has seen them or not.
Yeah, I mean, because comedies, like I said, I watch Eddie Murphy movies. I watch. I've seen most of the Martin Lawrence movies. I've seen. What else? Yeah, I don't Anchorman. Okay. I haven't seen Anchorman 2.
Okay.
But I've seen Anchorman. I like Anchorman. Zoolander. Love that shit.
So a lot of the SNL guys you've watched?
I've watched some of the SNL movies.
Wayne's World?
But I refuse. Yeah, but that's part of when I stopped watching comedies because you start watching movies that don't make you laugh and you're like, this is supposed to make me laugh and I'm not laughing.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, I've seen Happy Gilmore.
Okay.
But some more of the pot movies, I think is that I haven't. I've seen Grandma's Boy.
Okay.
And I've seen Super Troopers, and and they're funny. They're good movies, but they're really only really good movies unless you're super stoned. Whereas Friday, that shit's a good fucking movie.
Okay.
And Friday could make me laugh even if I wasn't stoned.
All right.
So I hold Friday to such a high regard that I don't watch any other movies but Friday.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just me. It's probably some kind of weird disappointment things, childhood stuff that I should probably work out with my therapist, but I don't yet.
Get Shorty? This is just talking about.
Oh wait, no, I've seen Get Shorty. I've seen Get, but only once. Oh, yeah. when I rented it on VHS, so a long fucking time ago. We went right when Get Shorty came out.
Something About Mary. There's something about Mary.
No, never seen it. I've seen the clip with her hair,
That's all
but I've never seen that movie.
Just the jizz hair?
Oh, you know what movie turned me off to watching comedies?
What?
Dumb and Dumber. I don't think I've seen the full Dumb and Dumber all the way through.
I love that movie.
As soon as they killed that fucking parakeet with the blind kid, I was like, nah, fuck this shit, and I turned it off. I'm serious. I swear to God, that's honest.
Dude, I went to prom in one of those tuxedos.
Good for you.
I've
never seen it. Like I said, I was on a weird militant comedy kick when I was watching Dumb and Dumber, and when that parakeet came out, I was like, oh, I can't, and I turned it off. I was like, this is stupid, and I turned it off.
Pretty bird.
Yeah, it fucked me up. It fucked me up because I still remember the scene, bro, with the blind kid, and he gave the blind kid a dead bird. I was like, oh, I'm gonna turn this off right now because I don't think I'm gonna like this. And I turned it off.
I feel, oh man, that's so early on in the movie.
Saying.
That's so early on in the movie.
I'm such a comedy snob. Bro, that's probably what it boils down to. Is there are some movies that I haven't watched only because when they came out or when it was time to watch them, I was a comedy snob and didn't want to watch them because I didn't think they were going to be funny.
All right, so we're just putting this out there to our listeners. If you have a movie that you enjoy watching, it doesn't necessarily have to be a stoner movie, but what's a movie that you enjoy watching while stoned?
Oh, we should ask. You know what? What since we have a few more minutes, what's one movie that's not a stoner movie that you enjoy watching stoned? Or quickly, the top 3 movies that you like
When I'm stoned?
when you're stoned that are not necessarily stoner movies.
Oh man, like I watch a ton of anime, so like I like a lot of anime movies. Like Spirited Away is one of my favorites.
Yeah, sure.
I like that one.
I love watching anime when I'm stoned.
Princess Mononoke. I like that. In terms of things that are not like, let's see, not typical stuff, like I love comedy. I like comedy. Like 40-Year-Old Virgin is one of my favorites.
I love that. I love 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's a great movie.
I like Judd Apatow. I like
the Judd Apatow stuff I watched a lot of.
Yeah.
You were going to say Pineapple Express when we were talking about.
I was, but I was trying to think of like in terms of, so Pineapple Express and Up in Smoke were at my top 3. I went with Up in Smoke because it's LA based.
Sure. And also Cheech and Chong and the whole thing.
It's also Cheech and Chong. But I do like Seth Rogen is another guy who like we've talked about it
he's
before.
Brilliant. Seth Rogen is brilliant.
If I could pick his brain, I'd love to.
Yeah. If that is a bucket list crown jewel guest for the Canna Kuya podcast, is if Seth Rogen would like to come on, and this is your first official invitation, Seth. If you're listening to this right now, you're more than welcome to come to the house and smoke some homegrown with us, and bring some houseplant ashtrays, because I'm down to have a $200-$300 ashtray at the house. I'm good for that. You anime.
Superbad is another one.
Okay, Superbad. I've seen that once.
Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite all time.
Shawshank is always. It's a great fucking movie.
Zihuatanejo.
Just everything about it. Shawshank Redemption. Amen.
And then you like
watching Shawshank when you're high, though?
Dude, I love
just like watching Shawshank
in general. It's one of those movies where I will get stuck watching.
For sure, yeah, I feel you.
What else? Any Jackie Chan movie?
Yeah, like Bruce. See that for me, any Bruce Lee. Like I can watch Enter the Dragon. I can watch. I like watching. I like watching TV shows. Stone. I like streaming. Like doing the whole binge. Like I watched The Warrior recently.
Yeah.
I love that shit. Like I'll watch that shit. Stone. Every time they smoke a cigarette, I smoke a joint. I play the same smoky game, but with The Warrior, and they smoke cigarettes. I just smoke joints instead. Because I figure like if I was the Filipino in the room, I'd be smoking a joint.
No, but as a I guess like an offshoot, like Jackie Chan movies, just because he's my favorite. Like, but I grew up with Bruce Lee too, so like pretty much any martial arts film,
arts, kung fu, any kind of martial arts movie, I'm down to watch.
Jet Li, Tony Jaa.
I mean that's almost like what inspired the. I feel like Wu-Tang was like watching martial arts movies and smoking cannabis in the house, and just that. And that's how Wu-Tang was born for real. Like
up until like my mid-20s, I thought I was gonna be like a martial arts superstar.
For real?
Like no, dude, I took a ton of martial arts growing up. Like, I don't know if I necessarily look like it, but I could take care of myself.
No, I took enough martial arts to be able to take care of myself in Chicago. That's kind of what my dad made sure of. He wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite non-stoner movies that I like to watch when I am stoned, I love watching Avengers Endgame.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love any Marvel stuff, like any Marvel rewatchable Marvel, like Thor Ragnarok or
like the early Marvel, like Phase 1.
Yeah, but I even just last night I got baked and watched Multiverse of Madness, so I was fine with that too.
Yeah, no, like
some of the stuff is I like all. I'm because for me, I was such a comic book kid when I was growing up that I grew up in the '90s in the heyday of the X-Men and all that stuff. So like those are like my comic book dreams come to life regardless of how they are. And sometimes you read comic books that were like, this was okay. And sometimes you read comic books that were like, oh my God, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So sometimes you watch Marvel movies that were, they're okay. And sometimes you watch them and they blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What else?
I'm down with you on kung fu stuff. I'm down to watch, like, I'll watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon over and over and over and over again, and I'll even watch that whatever the name of the sequel is on Netflix that with the dude from that's one of my favorite movies to watch when I'm stoned, but I only watch it when I'm stoned when I need a good cry. Dragon, the life of the Bruce Lee story with Jason Scott Lee. I will watch that shit all day. And then every time when they show him at the end, when he's doing the kata at the end, he's, I don't want to talk about the way he died. I'd rather talk about the way he lived. And I'll cry every single goddamn time. And if I'm stoned, I'll cry a lot. I'll cry harder because, you get more emotional when you're stoned.
Just more in your feelings. All right. With that, I think we're going to do our usual. Remember to like and subscribe on our pages. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Anywhere you get your podcast. And also, please leave a review. That is the best way if you want to help us. And I don't think anyone has yet to send a screenshot of their review. So the first person to send a screenshot to our DMs on Instagram at Canna Kuya Grow will receive a free Canna Kuya t-shirt.
Yep. Do it. Even if you're not in the United States, we'll spring for international shipping as long as it's not.
Mitch will. He got money.
I don't have money, but we'll sell some of your weed.
Hey guys, thank you for listening. If you've been listening this long, again, please leave a review, like us, rate us on Apple Podcasts. And I have been Eric Esteban.
And I'm Mitch Narito, and you've been listening to the Canna Kuya podcast, where we are cultivating conversations concerning cannabis culture and creativity. To all the Canna Kuyas and marijuana ates,
stay lifted,
stay elevated.
Peace, y'all.
Yeah, I got my hoodie on, now peep the chest as human catalyst. Downtown Chula Vista, on 3rd Ave where I go cop some shit. Fuck a thief, so fuck zoomies. Yeah, they whack ass jacket shit. Yeah, I move too swift, so I striking silence. Fuck the violence, man, check my mileage, cause I got drive. First tour, I drove 6 states, never thought I'd be there right by my side. Man, what a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, build an enterprise, move supersize. Y'all extra like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Let's go, gang, highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. Hey, you can count on Trey, Cap, bring the loud pack. Hey, get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run. Yeah, keep the up leave the fuck a Folgers. Little bitch, I made the beat and dropped the full verse. I just hit a steelo, I got dripped up. Package born and raised, bitch, I got dripped up. Y no se compara. Yo estoy con mi pana, se llama Trega, fumando ganja. Estamos con Cali, fumando en Cali, yo sé que traen ganas. Ella me dice, papi, que terminamos la cama. Highest in the room, yeah, we get fucked up. Hey, you can count on Trey, Cap, bring the loud pack. Hey, get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run.
Yeah, we got hits like Tatis and Machado. Man, we know you're not a leader, cause all our moves you just follow, packing big bowls. You know we just scooped up that gelato, cause I smoke killer. My shirt iller, yo, ask our dealer. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I rarely rock designer.